Three, two. Good morning, Ad Hoc. It's time for another walk and talk with your old pal Andrew. Today is day 2 of the wellness challenge. Apparently I got day 1 a little bit early, so that was actually day 0, but I'm still counting it because I recorded it. So we'll take what we can get. Today I'm going to talk to you all about sandpaper. And sandpaper comes in a lot of different shapes and sizes. This one is a sheet that's designed to go on a large sander, but the great thing about sheets is you can actually cut them down to size. And so even though this is designed to be used on a large sander, you can cut it in half and use it on a small sander. Sandpaper comes in a variety of grit sizes. This one is a combo pack with 60 and 80 grit. And the grit size is a measure of roughly how much sand or coarse material is included in each square inch. So a 60 grit has 60 little bumps in it for every square inch of material on the sandpaper. And you can typically find sandpaper as low as 40 grit and as high as 1,000 to even in some cases 2,000 grit, which is extremely fine. So the idea with sandpaper is the less material there is per square inch, so like a 40, 60, or 80 grit, the more it has the ability to be coarse and remove more material. So a 40, 60, 80 grit sandpaper is really good at removing a lot of material very quickly, whether you're sanding wood or metal or plastic, anything like that. And a higher grit, the higher grit you go, the finer the sand finish will be. So it takes off less material, but it leaves behind a smoother feel. Now when you're working with wood, typically you're going to be starting off with a low number like 60 or 80 to remove a lot of extra material and lay down the foundation for what you're sanding. And then you would move up gradually. So you would start at say 60 or 80, and then you'd go up to 120, then up to 180, then 220. And then if you wanted to, you could go further than that. But for most things, if you're going to stain or seal the wood, you stop around 200 to 220. And the reason for that is as you sand higher levels than that, the material that you're sanding away ends up getting stuck in the grooves from the previous sanding. So you think about as you're sanding away the material, you're leaving scratches on the wood. And each of those scratches represents a little valley. And so if you go above 200, the valleys start filling in with sawdust. And so the sawdust prevents the stain from being able to soak into the wood. Same thing with the sealer. It just sits on top. So if you want to stain your wood that you're working on, you definitely want to stop around 200, stain it, and then seal it. After you do the first coat of seal, you can do another sand of 200, seal it again, and then do another sand of like 600 or 1,000, because at that point, when it's already sealed, what you're doing is just rubbing away the dust that gets stuck on the steel. And we'll talk about stains and seals another time. So that is if you're woodworking. If you're metalworking and doing something that requires a nice finish to it, you obviously can't stain and seal metal the same way that you can with wood. So what you do is you go up higher. So you might start at 80 to remove a lot of material, then go up to 180, and then 220, and then 600, You might do a 300 or a 400 in the middle there if you want to. But the idea is, again, you're still making scratches. So you're going to, oh, we got trucks coming. Let me pause the video real quick. All right, we got rid of the trucks. I got tree trucks coming in the neighborhood right now. Oh, and the sun is just blaring right behind me. Anyways, so once you get those valleys going on the metal, you can start filling in those valleys a lot more with the finer and finer sandpaper. So it doesn't matter if you get little metal shavings stuck in the grooves. That's just adds to the polish and the shine. So it's okay on metal. Plastic, you probably don't really care that much about it being shiny. So you can just start at 60 or 80, get rid of all the material you want to get rid of, and then just call it a day. Maybe go up to 120 or 180 if you want to have a smoother feel to it, but probably don't really need to go much further beyond that. So sandpaper, as I said, comes in sheets like this. You can also get it pre-cut into smaller sections depending on what kind of sander you want to make use of it. This is an example of 120 sandpaper that I've just had laying around. Now, one of the nice things about this particular sandpaper is it's made by the 3M company, and 3M has a no-slip grip on the back of their sandpaper so that you can fold it over and it stays nice and tight grip on itself, so that as you're sanding by hand, it doesn't slip around. Now, one of the other options that you can do, which I highly recommend if you're going to do a lot of sanding, is get a sander block. And a sander block looks something like this, and you can attach sandpaper to it. So this particular sandpaper is a 120 with a adhesive back on it, and let me show you what that looks like. This is the other size and shape of sandpaper you can get, is circular sandpaper for random orbit sanders. If you go up to an electric sander, that's a good idea. But the this big circle here is the 120, and it has an adhesive back on it that allows me to stick it to the sanding block. The sanding block also has nails built into it so that you can put one of those sheets, the cut sheets, into it. Going uphill now. The other sphere or circular sandpaper that I've got here is a 600, and it has hook and loop back, so kind of like Velcro. And so depending on which kind of sander you have, some of them have a adhesive disc back for them, and some of them have hook and loop backs for them. And you can get them in all different shapes and sizes and varieties that way. I'll talk about sanders just real briefly. There's palm sanders, the electric sanders. There's a palm sander that you can get that's a real small size, and it's really good for smaller detail work, but it usually only goes back and forth when it's sanding, so it doesn't give you quite the nice finish as you would with something called a random orbit sander. I'll turn around, start walking back the other way. Now the sun's in my face instead of on my back. And a random orbit sander is really nice if you can get one, because the random orbit, as it goes around and around, doesn't leave the same kind of scratch marks as something just going back and forth would. So especially when you get up to the finer levels of grit, it doesn't leave as many obvious marks. It looks a little bit nicer, it shines a little bit brighter, depending on what it is that you're sanding. And then you can also get belt sanders, which are even bigger, and they have a belt of sandpaper that goes around and around. Those are really nice when you need to take away a lot of material quickly. And there's also disc sanders, which would use those circular sanding sandpapers. and the circular sandpaper on the disc sander just spins. And so that's also really good at taking away a lot of material quickly. So I'll leave you with one last tip that a lot of sandpaper manufacturers don't want to tell you about. As you use sandpaper, it starts to gum up the sandpaper, and the material just gets stuck on there. And some sandpaper comes with an anti-clog coating that helps prevent that from happening, but over time you're still going to get material stuck on your sandpaper. So what you can do to get rid of that extra material is you grab an eraser and you can just rub that over the material, and the material sticks to the pumice from your eraser and it comes right off. And then you can use your sandpaper even longer, which is great if you don't like to go shopping for sandpaper every week. Now, speaking of shopping, I guess I have one more tip. A great place to get cheap sandpaper that actually does a pretty good job is Harbor Freight. Harbor Freight stores have very good sandpaper for a very good price. If you want the 3M sandpaper with the no slip grip on the back, it is going to last longer, so it has value that way. But you can find that at Home Depot or Lowe's. And then the Gator sandpaper that I have here, I got from the automotive section at Walmart. It's designed to help scrape the paint off of cars if you need to touch up the paint on your car. So there you go. Lots of tips in one video. It's a little bit longer video this time because of all that, but hopefully it's valuable to someone. And I'll see you all on Friday. See ya.